What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Solo Hoops podcast. My name is Jeffrey, and I'm joined, as always, by Ryan and Matthias. Today, we're going to be talking about real NBA basketball, which was back this week. We're going to be giving some award predictions and, talk about some player performances, all that good stuff. But before we get into that, Matthias, Ryan, how are you guys doing today?
Man, I'm doing good today. It's Halloween weekend here at the University of Minnesota. I think it's probably for you guys too. So
Sure.
festivities this weekend, festivities next weekend too. Some during the week. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah, Halloween is a busy time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween weekend. Kind of the same thing going on. I have an intramural soccer game Tuesday on Halloween, and we're gonna be wearing costumes, so that'll be fun.
That's fire. That's fire.
Jeff, what about you?
Same thing. Have a lot of friends from out of town coming to visit today. Just spending the weekend, having a good time, enjoying my Halloween. Not much else going on outside that. Just enjoying basketball every night, doing homework. That's about it. Well, let's get right into these games then. So season started on Tuesday, where we had the Nuggets and the Lakers playing as the opening tip-off game for the ring ceremony. I thought it was a game that highlighted perfectly both the very strong positives and the very strong negatives for both of these teams. For the Lakers, and we said it the whole offseason, the perimeter shot creation and three-point shooting is going to be the number one factor on what's going to be able to how far this team could go and how stable their season can be, because I think they're going to win a lot of games, really close games, grinded out games, because they're very good defensively and they have LeBron James, who is the greatest basketball mind of all time, pretty much. He's going to make plays down the stretch and be able to manage a game to win. But I mean, there's just stretches where the Lakers are playing and the offense is just nothing.
Yeah, they couldn't get. It was hard to watch that offense in that Lakers game. That's like what stood out to me immediately watching it, is that even when LeBron is on the floor, they can't get their offense going. And I'll give the Nuggets credit too. I thought the Nuggets played a really good defensive game.
Yes.
I thought Jokic guarded AD really well. Aaron Gordon was everywhere. KCP was everywhere. I thought Michael Porter Jr. had a really good defensive game, kind of like showing help and nullifying a lot of the Lakers' perimeter scores. But yeah, the Lakers, they just couldn't get anything going the entire game. Even when LeBron is on the floor, it just doesn't look good. And when he's off the floor, it's hard to watch. It's brutal out there. As good as Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell can be, those two guys can't carry the perimeter shot creation load and playmaking load for an entire game. We've seen that LeBron's minutes are probably going to be a bit low this year just because of his old age. And I just don't know if the Lakers can afford to get away with that, given how the team looks. Anthony Davis, it was a rough game and rough second half.
Yeah.
Really second half. I thought he looked pretty good in the first half, kind of getting in the lane and finishing over the Nuggets defenders. But second half, he went scoreless. I thought the defense kind of fell apart on his end. That's just who he is at this point in his career almost. It's just kind of on and off, which is, something that the Lakers don't really want to have happen, just given, LeBron's age and the rest of the team. But what do you guys think about the game or like the Nuggets side also?
I wanted to credit kind of the Nuggets coaching staff. Because there's a reason AD doesn't score anything the second half. He had 17, I believe, the first half, right?
Yeah.
He finished with 17.
Yeah.
He was cooking them in the first half. Like, let's be honest, 17 in the first half is a really good start. And the Nuggets came in the second half. They kind of forced him to take uncomfortably mid-length shots, and He doesn't want to bang down low, so Jokic didn't have to worry. He just kind of body him and make AD take middies and floaters, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
And he just take him out of what AD does. And that's either something Mike Malone did, or that was either their plan come into it, and the players finally, got it together. But as a team, they adapted, and they shut AD down come halftime, and that's kind of what the Nuggets were all year last year. I just feel like they have an answer for everybody and everything.
Yeah,
and it's a mix of personnel and it's a mix of coaching, and it's great.
Yeah, and I think like this game kind of reminded me a lot of every game in last year's playoffs between these two teams, where the Nuggets would start out hot, the Lakers would find some sort of like response or counter, and then the Nuggets would take the lead again. Lakers would try to counter and make it close, and then in the end, the Nuggets just put the game away. And the fact that the Nuggets were able to do this, their offense against, in my opinion, probably a top 3 defense in the league. While the Nuggets offense didn't even look that great, I mean, it's good because it's the Nuggets, but I don't think they were humming in the way that they usually do, as far as like it was perfect. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. missed a lot of shots. I thought Jamal Murray had a good game, but not like a great one. Jokic is obviously great. KCP was cooking in the mid range. Oh my god,
his mid range.
I wanted to talk about that.
They were trying to run. They were trying to run him off the line the entire game, and it just didn't work because he would get to his spots in the mid range and just like make them. And the Lakers, they paid for that.
Yeah, this was not a perfect Nuggets offensive performance. But Jokic came out aggressive. I didn't even think, this is going to sound crazy, but like Jokic didn't even have that good of a game, and he dropped 29, 13, and 11. Like
he had a casual game.
Yeah, he was like missing a lot of easy jumpers and post shots that he usually is money on. But like that's where it is at this point with Jokic. Like it's the same thing that's like with any guy that gets to that level. It's like once they're at that level, and a mid game is still going to look like a slightly below average game for them is like still like a top 1% game in the NBA.
And it's weird too, because the Lakers were having Jokic like shoot threes. They were like not guarding him out there. And he's making them, and I'm like, what do you guys think is going to happen? He can shoot and make threes.
I do somewhat understand that concept, because I think forcing Jokic to score it's obviously not great of a plan, but there's really no great plan against Jokic, defending Jokic. And honestly, like letting Jokic have one-on-one opportunities, especially when Jokic was coming out aggressive, and letting him score and hoping that the other guys have off games to keep the game close enough where you can close. I don't hate the idea of it. I think the best way to play the Nuggets, and I was talking on Twitter about it, is you have to have really sound rotations, and you have to have someone who's willing to jump around in passing lanes and get their hand on the ball and press at half court. Like you can't let these ball screens just move freely. With MPJ, like MPJ shot 5 of 13, 2 of 9 from 3. Not a good game at all. He was crashing the boards really nicely. So that was good to see, because he wasn't impacting outside of scoring, which was something that was like, are you going to be able to do that? But everyone else shot really efficiently from 3. So it just kind of reinforces what we already know about both these teams. I was very kind of disappointed in this Lakers rotation. The Christian Wood, Anthony Davis lineup is just not it, dude. Like, I don't know what, like it just doesn't work. And I said that, like, everyone knew that was going to be a problem. Is like Anthony Davis needs sound rotations around him if he's going to be a good shot blocker. Like he can't guard 2 people at once at all times. Like AD is a very, very good defender, but he's not a hyper athletic, like recovery shot blocker.
Yeah. At least not anymore.
Not anymore.
No.
Yeah. Back he used to be crazy. But but like I'm looking at the 3-point shooting numbers here. AD 1 of 2 from 3. Taurean Prince 4 of 6 from 3. Like Taurean Prince is your second leading scorer by only taking 8 shots. And like D'Lo 4 of 12. Austin Reeves 4 of 11. Rui 3 of 10. 0 of 3 from 3. Like, I don't know. Like, I just really think that this is a team that is going to rely so heavily on these grinded out games, and it's not a roster that can afford to be grinding out games and playing high minutes. Like,
you have LeBron on the minute restriction or whatever, right? He's going to be below.
They want to play.
He played like 29 minutes in that first game. It's like you can't expect to win if you're doing that. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, they're just going to have to be better.
Well, and like
they have high expectations, so they're gonna have to hit those high expectations. If not,
D'Lo is your
play 35 minutes.
D'Lo's playing 36 minutes a game as the leading minutes guy. It's just like D'Lo is not stable enough to run the team when he's out there the most of anybody.
No,
he's just not. I don't know. I think this Lakers team is just gonna be so up and down. I mean, it's gonna be so up and down
for sure. I don't want to like get too ahead of myself because we've only seen 2 games of them. But even the game last night against the Suns, where the Suns have Kevin Durant and no Devin Booker and no Bradley Beal, and the Lakers still barely won, and that's on top of a really good LeBron game, a really good Anthony Davis game, a fine game from some of the role players, and they still barely won against that team. Where Kevin Durant was like, Kevin Durant, man, like I remember watching that game. Whenever Kevin Durant with the ball crossed half court, the entire Lakers defense was all staring just at him. They were sending like triples at him when he'd get the ball in the mid-range area. And the fact that Kevin Durant still at 39 and the Suns almost won that game is a bit alarming from the Lakers side, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you're really well, we can move on and talk about the Suns because they played 2 games. They played an opening night against the Warriors, getting the win, and then they lost last night. But again, this is everything that everyone said about this team. Like it's nothing new. Like if these role players are just not, these aren't good role players. Like you can't have when you have 2 guys missing a game, you cannot have Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon being your only reliable guard play.
At least a score, because
as a scorer, as a scorer, because Grayson Allen is not creating for himself. Eric Gordon at this stage should not be creating for himself, but he will get those shots up.
He's been chucking them.
Negative. Eric Gordon was negative 27 in the minutes he played today.
Yeah,
like that's brutal. And I want to say some positive things about the Suns. Devin Booker in the opening night game looked absolutely amazing. I mean, that guy is just crazy. He's just so good.
Yeah, he's really good. I don't really know what the answer for him is, like one-on-one, because
there isn't one.
I don't think there is one. He just kind of cooks everybody in his way. We saw that in full display in the Warriors game. He just can't miss.
And he's shown that he's willing to play make. Like,
his playmaking.
I think a lot of people. Oh, it was amazing. He made the right decision every time, and a lot of people I don't think realize that he's had playmaking leaps throughout his career.
That 7 assist season where he played point guard the year before Chris Paul got there.
And it's not anything new for Devin Booker to have to like run an offense. And Chris Paul joining the Suns blinded that a little bit, but so I've been a big believer of Devin Booker. I think he'll figure out the season. I think he's going to have by far his best physical season. Yeah. I think he'll be the guy. In Phoenix. Like
Same.
KD's going to be the number 2.
I kind of predict that like by the end of this year, we're going to see Book and KD at like the same level of player. Like I really think that Book at this point could eclipse KD's spot in like the top whatever rankings, because
there is like this weird void of space in the player rankings. That's like the 4 through like 7 spot. And there's like 6 guys that you could say are like the top 4 to 7 players in the NBA. Like it's really crazy. With the Suns though, one thing I've been pleasantly surprised about, the defense has actually been somewhat okay, honestly.
Yeah.
I think Frank Vogel's scheme is good. But I said it. I've been very adamant about it. Like with the Nurkic thing, it's like he is a roller coaster role player. And the first game, you get high end Nurkic. He's playmaking. He's grabbing every board. He's grabbing off the short roll and hitting running floaters and like and ones and stuff. And then this game, it's like 1 of 5, 0 of 2 from 3.
I think you're giving Matias some flashbacks right now. I'm just gonna say that.
I mean, it's just like and that's
opening
and that's
night
really
Nurk is always a trip. He always looks so good opening night.
Yeah, and I think that's where this Suns team, I think it's really the only thing that's stopping them really from being like an amazing, like a truly amazing team, is because there's too many variables surrounding the star players. There's nothing steady outside of those 3 guys.
Yeah. I do want to highlight for the Suns, Josh Okogie.
He has been great.
I think he has been like the perfect role player for this team so far.
Yes.
I still have a soft spot for Josh Okogie, obviously, for him playing in Minnesota his first like few years, and he couldn't really find much of a defined role for us just because he couldn't shoot, and it felt like offensively he was a bit out of control. But he looks like now he's a lot more stable on the offensive side of the ball, which allows him to stay on the court, which allows him to show off a lot of his like very high end defensive skills, like and rebounding. He's one of the pound for pound. He's one of the best rebounders in the NBA. Seriously.
He's kind of like a Josh Hart build.
Yeah, he's like a discount Josh. That's exactly what I was about to say. He's like a discount Josh Hart type of player.
Yeah.
And I think, he's been excellent for them. And that's one of the pieces on this team where I think you can look at it and say, you know what you're getting from Josh Okogie. You're getting a high energy defensive guy who can hit open threes, when he gets the opportunity, and he'll crash the boards and he'll just make those little plays. But I'm just not like, this bench just does not move me very much. like Yuta Watanabe, like good shooter, but such a negative defensively that it's really hard to have him out there for long stretches. But I think the Suns are just going to be a fun team. They're just going to be a fun team. And they're going to be really good, and they can beat anyone in the playoffs because they have 3 of the highest level scorers in the NBA.
For sure. It's just like, what are you getting from the role players? They gotta be playing well.
You got to get a good stretch of 7 games from at least 2 of those guys,
and like that. And with how good the front end talent is in that team, like if a good Eric Gordon game can win a playoff game for them if things go right. Like a good Nurkic game defensively and controlling the glass can win a playoff game for them. That's when you're that talented of a team with your best players, like. Even if your role players can, even if one role player can step up for one game, that's all it takes sometimes.
Yeah. I will say though, I do think Nurkic's playmaking will be the one consistent of any role player there. He's going to be a release valve. I think we saw immediately the difference in their offense with him versus Ayton there. He's just able to alleviate so much pressure on whoever the ball handler is. It's both Beal or KD, and then he's got vision, so he either makes life easy on Okogie or he makes life easy on Beal or whoever's on weak side, the other 2 superstar scorers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he'll be a good release valve for him. But other than that, his rebounding, his scoring, his effort, honestly, from everyone on the bench, like they all have a big hole. Maybe I wouldn't say effort for the bench guys because they have like Eubanks and Watanabe, but like
and I think the last point about the Suns that's really should worry Suns fans is injuries cannot be piling up in the second game of the season, man. Like,
that book injury. I didn't see that at all.
I had no idea anything happened. I'm guessing they're just being careful because it's the beginning of the season, but
yeah, probably. I mean, Booker was questionable for game 1, but I don't think he wanted to miss the opening night of the season.
I don't think so either.
And I don't think the NBA would have wanted him to do that either. So he played, and yeah, he was out the second game. But going on to like, speaking of the Warriors side of that opening night matchup, I wasn't watching their end that closely, to be honest. I was kind of watching the Suns more, like, with more focus. But no Draymond, you felt that impacts, like, from the opening tip almost, how the Warriors defense was just kind of getting picked apart. And another thing I noticed was that, like, they ran so much pick and roll that game with Chris Paul. Like, I was yeah.
No way.
Like, I was listening to the Dunker Spot with Nekias Duncan and Steve Jones, and they were saying that the amount of pick and roll that the Warriors ran in that first game would have been the 4th highest of their entire season last year. So
yeah,
they're like, with Chris Paul, they're running a lot of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of expected. This is funny because you know what they're missing? A spark plug scorer off the bench. That's what they're missing right now. I think this front office made those decisions this off season about Jordan Poole, about Draymond, and bringing him back because they had loyalty to Draymond and that core. And it just, I just don't see a situation where you're looking back on that in 3 to 5 years. And because that's really what you have to trade. When you trade away a young player, it's not this season. It does not matter what happens this season. It's what happens in over the next couple of years. I don't see a world, unless the Warriors win another championship with Chris Paul, where it's like
that's the only way. Yeah.
Where it's like, that was better for us.
Especially with the Clay rumors right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You see that he might not sign the extension. It's like you just let go of a shooting guard. You guys let go of a combo guard. If Clay walks, you got old ass Steph and old ass Chris Paul and old ass Draymond. And you have to hope Kuminga pops at this point. Or
Moody.
That's their only hope is banking on those two guys.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have no real center either. I love Kevon Looney, but if he has no real power forward next to him, Draymond alleviates a lot of pressure off of Kevon Looney.
I love Kevon Looney, and what he does for the Warriors is very important. But like, part of what makes him so effective is the ability to play off of Draymond. And when he doesn't have that presence next to him on defense, it's like, we saw in the Suns game that it looked a little bit shaky.
Yeah. And I will say with this team, oh my God, like this shooting, this game, this was a horrible Golden State shooting game. They shot 23% from 3, 10 of 43.
Yeah.
35% from the field overall, 36 of 100. And
Clay has got to chill out a little bit with the 3-point attempts because it's been like 3 seasons now of him wanting to prove that he's back and that he's what he used to be so much that I think he takes just a lot of ill-advised shots.
Yeah.
I think it looks like that because he's not hitting them, but that's just Clay's shot selection, and it's been like that forever.
I think you definitely could be right about that, but like, I don't know. I
don't think anything's changing what he's doing. I think it's just his loss of mobility and athleticism has definitely impacted his ability to be a movement shooter. Like, he cannot run around the court as fast and well as he used to be able to. And obviously that impacts his defense. But I mean, what was Clay was always known for? I'm not touching the ball. Okay. I'm not dribbling this ball. I'm just running around, catching it up, going up, going up. And that's why everyone loves Clay. He's going to put those shots up, but it's much easier to contest those shots, and I think those shots look a little bit worse than they used to because they're being contested more. But I don't mind. I really don't mind the shots, but it's like Chris Paul 0 of 6 from 3, Wiggins 0 of 3.
Chris Paul in his old age, like they say, shooting is something that stays around as players age, but I almost push back on that sometimes, and not because this game is completely indicative of what Chris Paul's shooting looks like.
This one game.
This is just one game, but I think we saw last year even too, like that mid range of Chris Paul that he's made, a living off of in a lot of ways. Like it just doesn't. It's not the same, and I don't think the 3-point shooting has been the same for a few years, probably since that finals run year. So the Chris Paul's offensive production we know has gone down, but it'll be something to monitor for sure. And like the lack of self creation on that team, I think Jordan Poole could have helped that. I still like to trade for both teams, to be honest. Like I'm not going to say the Warriors. I understand it from the Warriors perspective, and I think a lot of people have not, and I definitely am still thinking like, I get why the Warriors did it, but this first game it looked like they could have used a Jordan Poole.
I just don't think the trade really fixed any holes. I think we've talked about it enough, but overall the Warriors and just I guess I want to talk about Chris Paul and Klay Thompson. What you were saying, Ryan, about Chris Paul losing his jump shot, I think a lot of that is just off the dribble stuff. Like you said, the shot creation just isn't there. You lose your burst, you lose your balance as you get old. And like Chris Paul creating off the midi or creating at the 3-point line isn't his bread and it's bread and butter, but it's not the go-to of a team anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though he might still personally be putting up numbers or being efficient from those spots, he's not doing it at the rate that he used to be, which is like expected. And with Klay, I think what's so noticeable from Klay is that his moving shot, like you said, Jeff, he has no balance on it. Like watch old Klay when he's coming off screens.
He's much
way more balanced. He's way more vertical. And he's coming out off hotter, and he's coming off like way lower, and he's popping like straight up. And then post injury, Klay's just been kind of like fading. Like if he's moving left, he's fading left, and his like right leg's kicking out, or he's fading right, and when he's moving right, his left leg's kicking out, and it's like
it's that start and stop ability.
Balance. Yeah, and it's the same thing as it's either the injuries and a mix of getting old, or he's just like you can't stop and pop like he used to, and you're gonna see Chris Paul and Klay shot selection is gonna dwindle down, and then
I think
I don't know. I'm worried about the Warriors, man.
I think having a guy like Draymond back, but he's gonna miss like a month, man. Like he's not, or like close to a month, I think, isn't he? Like a couple weeks at least.
And with this Western Conference, with how packed it is, like if you start off slow, you can really get behind, and we see that with teams. We're gonna see that this year already with a team like Memphis potentially.
Let's talk about Memphis in a second.
Yeah, we can just get into that right now. I didn't watch their game against the Pelicans.
I went back and watched.
Okay,
I went back and watched. Okay, this team. Okay, I'm gonna say this. Desmond Bane is very good. Desmond Bane is clearly taking a step up in his play this year. He had 30 points. Nobody knew it because, my goodness, this game was just brutal. I mean, Jesus.
It was a tough watch.
This offense is possibly one of the ugliest offenses I've ever watched. Like genuinely, I've ever watched. I
think they had the least memorable offensive game I've watched to date. Like I only remember one play off the top of my head, and I watched all 4 quarters.
Yeah. So literally, there's just no creation. There's no bench creation. There's no playmaking on this roster.
Yeah,
like,
and there's
no playmaking right now until I want to be without Ja, because obviously
But it's rough over there because like their injuries have already piled up. Like so,
Steven Adams out for the season.
Ja, yeah, we didn't talk about that. Ja is suspended for 25 games. Luke Kennard hasn't played yet.
He played. He got concussed.
Oh, yeah, then I don't know when he's gonna be back because
usually it's like a week or two.
That's still rough because they need everything they can get right now,
and they need that perimeter scoring.
They need shooting, and he's one of the best shooters in the league. Brandon Clark is if he returns at all this season, which isn't a guarantee, it's going to be like post All-Star break.
And he's not going to look like himself right away.
He's not. Steven Adams out for the year is a very, very tough blow. Honestly, like where I kind of thought the Grizzlies would finish in the West before that news was around like 6 maybe, but that tanked them down to like 8, just like that.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's rough.
And you're looking at it, it's like, Jaren, I have been singing your praises all offseason, and you come out with this BS this game, bro. 2 of 9 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 blocks, which is crazy, 3 turnovers. Yes, 5 personal fouls. 5 foul again, dude. Like Jaren, like he has this obsession with catching the ball in like the short corner and starting to do like a dribble breakdown package. Like he just like goes between his legs. He tries to do like a spin move. He loses the ball. He turns it over, or he throws up some BS that just doesn't get anywhere near the rim. And it's just like, just catch and shoot and roll and like do that, but they don't have a playmaker to do that. And it's like you can't expect Desmond Bane to take all of this, the creation and shooting out perimeter scoring, and be the best playmaker on the team. Like Desmond Bane is not expecting Desmond Bane to do that is that's the expectation for Devin Booker, and he's a top 10 player. Like you cannot expect Desmond Bane to take on that load of responsibility, and then just like this bench unit, it's so uninspiring.
It's so depleted at this point. Like I was thinking about this the other day. It's like you think about that season 2 years ago when they had a really good record without Ja. And that was one of the talking points of the season. Like even with Ja, they're so deep that even when Ja doesn't play, they can still
what was it, like 20-5 or something?
They were really good. But you look at what made that group so good in that regard was like Tyus Jones, Dillon Brooks, Kyle Anderson, Steven Adams, all 4 of which will not play this season because 3 of them are gone. Dillon Brooks, you lost for nothing. Kyle Anderson, you lost for nothing. Tyus Jones, you lost for Marcus Smart, but I also don't think Marcus Smart is like the stabilizer on offense that Tyus Jones is, and that's part of what made them so good without Ja. And Luke Kennard is like out right now, which is a big hit to their offense.
He's always injured too.
He is always injured. This Memphis team really scares me, and like the way they opened up was really not good.
No, not at all.
Speaking of teams that opened up bad or poorly, the Timberwolves. I have never in my life seen 2 star players display such poor shot selection for an entire game. Cat and Anthony Edwards were like
they were 16 of
52.
52.
16 of 52 combined for them. And it was actually
why are they even taking that many shots?
It was actually like one of the worst games I've ever seen from them combined as far as like playing off each other. Like Ant's tunnel vision just like took over, and Cat's tunnel vision just took over, and the bench didn't do anything. It was such a bad opener.
Yeah, and in the clutch, I felt like it just got worse. Like some of the
got worse.
The pull up, dude, there was some weird pull up middies Anthony Edwards took just throughout the
Anthony Edwards has historically been a really bad mid range shooter, the Kobe and the MJ comps are fun, but like Ant's mid range bag is bad. It's really really bad, and he shot 4 for 20 from mid range. He took 20 mid-range shots and he made 4 of them. Like that's so bad.
So he wasn't even attacking the rim heavily either.
No, he wasn't.
There's a reason we have analytics, and it's like there's a reason the midi is known as the worst shot in the basketball right now. It's like
unless you're like
you take them when you're walking in and open.
Yeah, unless you're like DeMar DeRozan or Booker or KD, it's like why are you? It's on unless you know for certainty that you can make them at a high rate to where the math all evens out. Like it's just doesn't make any sense taking them, and especially with Ant because Ant's 3-point percentage in his career has been like sizably higher than his mid-range percentage. So it's like, why are you taking these shots? It was really bad. He only had 1 assist in the entire game too. It's like Ant, what are you doing, man? And I know the Raptors are a tough matchup for the Wolves, I'll be honest, but like that shouldn't be an excuse.
The Raptors are a tough matchup for everybody. Like we got to remember, just because Nick Nurse is gone, they can still run terrace ball. Like they have that defensive lineup that you can still just lock guys down. But with Anthony Edwards, with like the mid-range game especially, taking 20 mid-range shots is just it's a no-go. He needs to get to the rim, and then he needs to simplify the game. And I think a lot of people like this summer were talking about the mid-range development, and I was one as well. But it wasn't develop the midi to go away from what makes you good.
No.
It was develop the midi to relieve pressure if you have a size advantage or if you need to slow the game down, and you can actually take a size mismatch, get down to the mid post and get an easy shot. Like
exactly, like that's like what the mid range is for is when if I want Anthony Edwards to go to the rim, that's the first thing I want him to do because he's unstoppable with his burst and his like acceleration skills in the paint. That's number 1 for him. 2, if they don't want you to drive, if they're going to prevent the drives, you're a good enough 3-point shooter that they have to respect you on the pick and roll, and they can't go under on the screens, right? So then they might. That's what makes them so good is that you have to watch for the drive and the pull-up 3. And if they try to take away both of those things, then you work in the mid-range a little bit. But when the mid-range is like your main focus every single time, and you're just dribbling and like settling for bad shots, it was really bad. And the 2 bigs thing. I had been talking so much shit this summer about how it's going to look so much better, and it looked really bad.
Yeah.
It looked really, really bad first game.
I watched a little bit of this game. Then it got really ugly and really gross game, and I was just like, I'm going to go to a more entertaining game. I did look at the numbers, and I watched some of the condensed clips as well. I do want to put on some positives about the Wolves game that I kind of said. I do think Cat looks a much, much more comfortable playing as a help side defender. He looked so much better at doing that. And I think that's something that they're going to have to grow into. But I mean, just this offense, they need to find. If they are committed to this 2 big thing, at least for this season, they need to find some sort of identity that works with this. I mean, you need Chris Finch, like he either needs to stagger these guys more so they can get easy. So Cat and Ant can be aggressive on offense in lineups that make sense for them. Or you need to find a better identity for them playing together because you can't have Cat and Ant both trying to go out there and just get buckets however they want because it's just not going to work. Like Cat can't just go to work in the paint because Rudy Gobert is down there. And Ant can't go. Ant can't play his 2-man game with Cat because Rudy Gobert is down there. And they can't play 2, and Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert can't run the lob because Cat and Ant are down there. It just, I'm so hopeful for this team, and I hate, and this is gonna sound bro. I feel like Ryan probably will agree with me. if this Rudy Gobert trade never took place, screw the assets or anything outside of that. If it was literally any player other than Rudy Gobert, this team would be so much easier to project. Like, it's so. I just can't comprehend what I just don't even know what they were thinking, because I feel like everyone saw that trade and were like, why?
Well,
I know what the goal is.
Here's what I can say about that. Here's what I can say about that. So, the summer of 2022, the team is coming off a 46-win season. We make the playoffs. We take the Memphis Grizzlies to 6, and we put a scare in them. You know, coming off that, our new ownership at the time. Remember, we had the Wolves.
Yeah, and the
new ownership. When new ownership takes over, we see that very often that new ownership wants a big trade to go down, or they want a star hunt right away because they're excited. So new ownership takes over. They still aren't the majority owners. It's like a weird process where they've paid.
They have to pay
parts.
Yeah,
it's weird, but coming off that season, we lose to the Grizzlies because we don't have rim protection and rebounding. So the thought is we might try to pair Cat with another big. That's more of a rim protector. But when Tim Connolly, the new GM, brand new ownership, that's a little bit scary. They were in talks with the Spurs to get DeJounte Murray in exchange for D'Angelo Russell and a first and 2 firsts and D'Angelo Russell for DeJounte Murray coming off DeJounte's All-Star season. That
would have been so much better.
We were in talks with the Spurs to make that deal happen.
Well, you guys got one-upped by the
Hawks. The Hawks were willing to put in a lot more.
They gave a swap in 2 picks, right?
Yeah. So the deal fell apart.
Jesus.
And the front office returned to the idea of pairing Cat next to a big, that can rim protect, and instead of shooting for a Jakob Poeltl or a Miles Turner or someone who's a little bit less,
or even looking at a Walker Kessler that's in the draft and matches
your drafted
rookie
Walker
star that's only been in the league for 2 years, 2-3 years.
Yeah. Or just keep Walker Kessler on the team to see what happens. But instead, the Wolves were nah, we want to get a star. We got to get a star for this team. And they get Rudy Gobert. And originally the deal was only supposed to be 3 first-round picks, but that would mean Jaden McDaniels would have to be included. And in order for Jaden McDaniels to not be included in the deal, Danny Ainge and the Jazz were okay, it needs to be 5 first-round picks.
Jesus.
And then from that point on, it just got out of hand. So that's where we're at now.
I'm going to be honest. The issue is Rudy Gobert. I'm going to be honest. Even though Cat and Ant were playing just get bucket, blind basketball out there, there were still some impressive moments that you see what they can do together and with other pieces on the floor.
Yeah.
But with Rudy Gobert, I just don't see it because number one, you can't work a high-low with him because he can't play the low man in a high-low with Cat because he's not skilled enough to fucking score in the post.
Yep.
So you can't put him in the low position, and then you can't put him in the high position in a high-low because he can't pass and he has limited ball skills. So then it's then you can't put him in a horn set because again, what are you gonna him rolling hard unless it's a lob and you don't have any lob throwers. Rudy Gobert is not a good roller because he's gonna if he catches the ball on a bounce pass or whatever, it's just
it's just and I don't think the problem is necessarily Gobert's fault. It's just here's the way I view it. I thought Gobert played a really good game against the Raptors on defense. He was really playing well, and rebounding well. But here's the thing: if Rudy Gobert being on the court just elevates the defense by default, right?
Yeah.
It just makes the defense better by default. But in turn, him being on the court makes the offense just worse by default. And
yeah,
for as much as people talk about the Wolves, and they always want to talk about the defense. Like, Cat can't guard on the perimeter. Gobert, he can't play on the floor of the playoffs because when 5 out happens, he can't guard. That's not the problem. The problem is the offense. The problem is you've got 3-star players who they can't all play together on offense. And in the NBA, the current NBA, if you want to be a good team, you need to be able to score. And if this big, I think the Wolves will have a good season still.
Yeah, I do too.
If they have a good season, they're going to have a good season despite the 2 bigs thing. And the 2 bigs thing isn't going to be they aren't going to have a good season because the 2 bigs thing worked out. It's going to, it's a really weird situation.
Yeah. And
I can't. Oh wait, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I just want to say this quickly. I would really, really hate, because I think this ends up with one of those guys needing to be moved. And I think Wolves fans, and especially, would hate if Karl-Anthony Towns' tenure as a Timberwolf gets finished. Because
I would actually be so depressed if because the front office and new ownership made a mistake that Karl-Anthony Towns was the one that had to get the short end of the stick, and that he was the one that had to get the bad end of it. I would be so sad if that happens.
I would say this though, quick about that, with if one of those guys get moved. I said it. I do not think. I think there are teams that would take Rudy Gobert.
Yes.
There genuinely is. I'm going to point out this team. This is going to sound like a really weird. The Miami Heat, like if Rudy Gobert would come off the bench for them, if they had to talk with him and like, we can give you like Kyle Lowry as like a 1-year expiring. Like, I'm just saying this season. I don't think this will happen, but like if you could get if the Wolves could get like an expiring deal and like a pick, like maybe 1 pick back, it's like you lost the deal. Those assets it's a negative trade. It's a negative trade whether you move him or you keep him. It doesn't matter. And Rudy Gobert comes off the bench for them. Or I was thinking this is a really kind of a weird fit, but OKC, I think, might even be willing to take Rudy Gobert because you have Chet, who can, on offense, is also kind of limited. He's not a creator, but he can stretch the floor really well from the corner. And that would be a crazy defensive front court because you have one of the greatest rim protectors of all time alongside one of the probably is going to be one of the greatest help side defenders of all time, probably alongside him as well. So, and one thing I will say, I'm going to say a lot of these bad contracts, I think there's a good chance that one of these high paid players, like star players, that's not that great anymore, but is still okay to good. I think OKC is going to end up buying on one of those guys because they need to get rid of some of their assets, because their asset pool is becoming negative value pretty shortly here. Mm-hmm. And I think the Wolves would be more than happy to take maybe a first and a couple of their extra seconds that they hold to get that contract off. And because and I think the worst part about this Rudy Gobert thing is it happened the worst possible season because Jaden McDaniels broke out as one of the best power forwards, like defensive power forwards in the league. Like if you were running,
Kessler was a great defensive center in the
like it's just stupid. Like it was literally just everything went wrong with that trade. But Matthias, you can go back to whatever you were saying.
Oh, I mean, I there's a lot I could cover. Number one, I think before the Timberwolves blow it up and send either Cat or Rudy out of town, they have to switch the coach. They have to, and I haven't watched a ton of Timberwolves games, I'm being honest. Like I tune in when I can.
I would be willing to try something new.
Ryan, you'll probably be able to answer this. Do they run a lot of just like 2 big actions at the top of the key ever, like clear out the paint? Like either it's a double stagger or a horns?
Never.
They do. See, that's what they need to be doing, because you get Cat at the 3-point line, and it doesn't have to be every time, but basically every time you can just have Cat pop, and then you give a wide open paint to a downhill Anthony Edwards, and then Rudy Gobert is just playing cleanup crew, which is what he knows.
I think the one thing with
like, if they don't ever clear out the paint and run a double action with both bigs up there, what's the point of having 2 bigs?
I think one thing with that is, really quick, Anthony Edwards has to show the ability to play make out of that action. And like we were talking about, Ryan was saying earlier, the tunnel vision gets too bad sometimes with Ant. That is just like sometimes that result in a lot of bad shots.
But that would simplify it for Ant.
Yes.
Like right now, I feel like they're not simplifying it, and it's like no wonder he can't play make. It's because like he already doesn't like naturally. He's not naturally a playmaker, and then you're putting him in a position where it's like ISO, and then I guess kick and figure it out or run like a weird
it's
jammed
like
pick and roll.
The thing with Ant's playmaking is that when it comes to like driving and kicking out to the corners, I think Ant is a very good playmaker in that regards. And like as far as playmaking goes, that's one of his strengths is doing that, which is really nice when you don't have a center down low. But like where Ant's playmaking really struggles is in the pick and roll. Like before Gobert, Ant has said that he never in his life has played with like a rolling big or like a lob threat or anything. And if Rudy's on your team, you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to maximize him on offense with lobs and pick and roll play. And Ant just hasn't been able to do that yet. So I don't want to talk about the Timberwolves anymore. Seriously, like
I do want to say one thing though, because I felt like we shat on Rudy Gobert a lot. He's actually, I still believe he's a good player. And I just do think he's on. I just think he's on the wrong roster. Like his style
that's it.
Fit.
It's just a fit. That's it.
Put him on the Mavs with Luka Doncic as a rolling lob threat.
Oh yeah.
And he just anchors like.
The problem is that contract.
He just makes shitty defenders look great, like he did in Utah, and he'd be amazing.
Yeah.
The contract wise, it's not realistic, but it's like put him with someone who can actually throw a lob, and isn't doesn't have another big covering up and tripping him up on his own steps. You know,
well,
he'd be fine.
Let's get to there's two more games I think we should really cover. The first one being Boston, New York, on Wednesday. I think this. I feel like I feel like a broken record today. Both of these teams, everything that we said would be the problem for them was the problem, and everything that was a positive was a positive. Like Boston was, when they're humming offensively, it's hard to keep up, and when they're playing really strong defense, it's hard to score on them. Yeah. And the problem was that bench is horrible. I'm not going to let any Celtics fan convince me otherwise. That bench is bad. It is bad. It is actually bad. I mean, I don't know what the minutes look like. Let me look really quick. All right. The minutes played. Can you guess what the highest bench player was past the sixth man?
Probably like 11 minutes.
13 minutes. They ran a 9-man rotation with Luke Cornett playing 8 minutes. Was the eighth man or ninth man? Sorry. You cannot run a 9-man rotation and only 7.5. Like Sam Hauser is okay. I think he's an okay player, but only like 7 of those guys are like, yeah, you can play basketball.
Yeah.
Like that's just brutal. Like it's just brutal. Yeah. It's brutal. It's brutal.
They're gonna have to hope that they can just stagger the 7 guys, and they're gonna prey on that. But I
mean, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps all played 38 minutes.
Yeah. Well, the hope is like obviously increase the bench players' minutes, but it's Mazzulla has to find a way to maximize those guys in the regular season before they get to the playoffs. Like he can't run a playoff 8 or not, like I say a playoff 9-man because no one actually really runs a playoff 9-man, but he's basically running a playoff rotation, and he's just like, oh, I gotta play my 8th and 9th guy a little bit. You can't be doing that for 82 games. You have to just run a Jason Tatum with 4 bench guys, or a Jason Tatum and Derek White, and like, you know what I mean? You're just gonna have to figure it out. And if they don't, number one, there's gonna be injuries. Number 2, they're gonna get gassed out. And it's like come playoff time, if you have your whole roster, like your whole rotation playing heavy minutes, all 82 regular season games, and your whole roster has potential to gas out in the playoffs, that is dangerous. Yeah. Very, very dangerous.
And people are saying like Well, they just need to make some moves at the deadline. I said, yeah, that's a great theory. What salary is going out? Are you trading one of those top 6 guys for multiple pieces?
No.
Only tradable pieces, in my opinion, would be Drew and Derek White.
Yes. And if you trade them and you don't get a guard back, you're now starting one of your starting guards or backup guard, only other guard on your roster is Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah. I didn't watch this game too closely. It was kind of on in the background, but something I did notice was that Porzingis looks really good.
Yes, he does.
I had kind of forgotten how athletic Porzingis is because in Washington it was strictly post-ups or pick and pop threes. We didn't really see a lot of cuts from him or catching lobs or any off the dribble stuff, but like Porzingis can get up there. He's quick. He's really fast. And as a, like, he's kind of the fourth option in a lot of ways in this team, and he's still at 28 because when you've got the gravity of Tatum,
he had 30,
and Jaylen Brown, 30, and when you've got the gravity with Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday, like, and Porzingis is quick enough and mobile, like agile enough to fill those gaps on offense, like he's going to score so easily. And that's like one thing that immediately stood out to me was like Porzingis looks really good.
And Tatum looked really, really good this game.
Tatum was great.
He was attacking the rim and looked so comfortable doing it. Like it was beautiful.
Yeah, he looked a lot better, but we just talked about how we didn't want Anthony Edwards taking more middies. I think Jason Tatum is the opposite, where his strength is literally the mid-range. Like, Anthony Edwards' strength is not the mid-range. It wasn't when he came to the draft. Jason Tatum, like, he might be one of the best mid-range scorers in the game. I would like for him to not chuck up contested threes early in the shot clock as much as he has. And, like, I don't think he did it too much that game, but there was one possession in the second half where I was like, oh, my God, he just chucked up like a left wing 3.
Yes, I know what you're talking
about. And it was just like, dude, you don't.
Was it during that big Knicks run where they scored like 8 straight? Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And it's like, I get he's trying to like step up or like put his mark on the game, but it's like you can do that with a midi. And it's like, or you could just like be patient and get a more open 3. And I think patience is just like the whole Boston's issue. I don't know. They look good. They won. I mean, Kristaps looks good, but offensively they need to.
And they
still have the same issues.
I do worry about this team's offense, though. I think this team, if a couple of their guys go cold, like they did in this game, there was a big stretch of the game where they could not buy a bucket. And it just led to huge comebacks. They are not – that's what I worry about with this team is if Tatum is in not being aggressive at the rim, which in stretches he is not. Like you can look at the whole game and say, yes, he was, but there's stretches of the game where he's just not aggressive attacking the rim. And if he's not attacking the rim and Jaylen Brown is obsessed with turnaround jumpers, I've never seen a player take more turnaround. Maybe DeMar, but Jesus. And then it's like Drew is such a up and down scorer throughout a game and throughout a season. And it's like Kristaps is a jump shooter. Like if you don't get Kristaps shooting 55% from 3 this game, do you win? Probably not. Like,
I mean, there was some really bad calls.
Oh, the officiating was horrible in this game.
Like
the flopping tech that Jalen Brunson got when that was
terrible.
Clearly,
that should have been a flagrant, dude. That should have been a flagrant on Tatum.
Ryan, do you know what we're talking about? So Jalen Brunson was shooting a wide open 3, and you know how like there's the flopping tech rule now.
Yeah.
So Jason Tatum tries to contest, and he lands in his landing space, and Jalen Brunson does not move. Like it is a straight up and down motion. Lands on both of his feet land on Jason Tatum's foot. He falls over, and they call a tech on Brunson. And it was he made it. It would have been.
And not only did he fall over, Jason Tatum fully extended his left arm as Brunson landed on his feet. So like Brunson like went like that.
So instead of Brunson getting 3 free throws in the 3 free throws in a 1-point game, the Celtics got free throws and the ball.
That's bad.
And it was a 4-point, and then Kristaps hit a 3 on the same possession. So it was a 4-point.
That's bad.
I believe too. It was a landing space foul, which is upgraded. It's free throw at ball back, is it not? So it would have been like it would have been like 3 or 4 free throws and a ball back for the.
Yeah, it was
the opposite.
Those fouls are dangerous for players. Like those cause a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And it's like the flopping is not for landing space calls. It's for like
they got Kristaps on one that I was dying on. He got like
that one was good though.
It was just a hilarious play. Like Josh Hart was doing Josh Hart things, boxing out the big and making himself big around him. And he hit him with the box out with his arm, and he went flying.
And
the ref just looks at him and goes,
I love when people get in like the chest or the stomach, and then they just go like, their head flies back, and it's like, oh my god.
But yeah, for the Knicks side of this, they just had this is probably as bad of an offensive performance as you can have. I mean, they started their 3-point shooting numbers look okay because at the end of the game they really started to hit some. But I mean, Julius Randle 5 of 22 and Jalen Brunson was 6 of 21. And I don't really think it was anything special that the Celtics were doing. I think it was just Jalen Brunson is just missing a lot of the really easy floaters and running type mid-range area shots that he is really comfortable taking. And Julius Randle was missing a lot of layups, like literal layups. So I don't know. I think Knicks fans can't be too upset about this. I want to highlight a couple guys from this team, though. The role players, Quentin Grimes, my goodness, he is an elite role player. He is a absolute sniper at this point in his career. He is comfortable enough to handle the ball, and he will guard the other team's best player, and he's good at it. It's awesome. And I thought RJ didn't shoot great. He shot 8 of 20, but I thought RJ had a really strong game. Defensively, he was really locked in. And he was just hitting. He hit timely shots, and I think at this point that's kind of what you want from RJ, just good defense and hit your open threes, and the efficiency is going to be up and down. But
yeah, you really just hope it's
and Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah Hartenstein, God, he is one of the most underrated role players in the league. Man, he is just so
he's really good.
Yeah, he's just so plug and play. Mitchell Robinson got in foul trouble really early, and they put in Isaiah Hartenstein, and they just kept him in there because he was doing just as good as Mitchell Robinson was. But then the last game I think we have to talk about was Bucks Sixers last night. Dame's debut. That game was absolutely electric for Bucks fans, and I think it just in general, as a basketball viewing experience.
Yeah, that was a great game.
Yeah. Let's start off with the less fun thing to talk about, which is the Sixers. A lot of their guys that they picked up in the offseason, like Kelly Oubre, had a crazy good game.
I was shocked to see Kelly Oubre ball out last night.
He had 27. Yeah, he had 27. And Tyrese Maxey, I'm gonna shout out Tyrese Maxey too. I love Tyrese Maxey. He's just a sick player.
Amazing yesterday.
Yeah, he's just a sick player. Being able to provide 31 and 8 with 0 turnovers is just it's so amazing. And I think this honestly bodes pretty poorly for the James Harden situation, which I don't really want to talk about, but it's just Maxey is there. Maxey is that guy. Maxey can take that next step as that fringe all-star level guy on this team, on the perimeter.
100%.
And Jaden Springer really played a really good game.
He had a lot of defensive moments though.
Yeah, he had a crazy block. He blocked. It was unfortunate though. He had a really crazy recovery block on a 3-point attempt, and he tipped it up, and Giannis just plucked it out of the air and dunked it, which was very unfortunate. But
yeah, the Sixers, they got a lot of questions that aren't going to be answered, it seems like, anytime soon. So right now, it's just, in my opinion, it's just watch where their young guys are at, watch Maxey, and
And I want to highlight the coaching. I want to highlight the coaching on both ends. I'm gonna do the Sixers. Nick Nurse is changing the way that Philly plays, obviously, and it is a much more enjoyable brand of offense. There's so much less. We are just going to bait for free throws every single play. There's a lot more movement, and they're pushing the pace in transition, which Embiid looks like he hates, but get used to it because you have Tyrese Maxey, and he should get the ball and go at all times. But yeah, it was really fun. That's really good game. But
yeah, let's move on. I am really excited for when Harden is like off the team permanently, just because he plays very slow, and I like this team when it moves. And Nick Nurse is like one of my favorite coaches, is just like a basketball mind, because
you're a sicko. You're a sick person for that.
Really. Really.
I think he's a really good coach. Like, I'm not going to say that he's not. He's just, his brand of basketball is just, it's wild.
I love it personally, and I like it.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
I didn't say you were wrong. I just said you're sick in the head for enjoying that type of basketball. I love the aggressive style. Like, I am all for aggressive, which we can get to the coach on the other side, on the other bench,
Adrian Griffin,
who was the lead assistant under Nick Nurse. It is a lot of the same stuff on defense. I'm going to highlight the defense before I talk about the offense. This team defense is, if you compare the two teams just on one game sample size, this team's defense looks nothing like it has the last 5 years under Budenholzer. I mean, they're playing zone with Brook Lopez roaming around in the paint and just moving around, and Giannis is guarding the team's best player in the clutch and literally guarding 1 through 5, and they're being really aggressive against on traps, and they're doubling off the dribble on bad playmakers. It's just, that is exactly what this team has needed the last 5 years. Like, last season, like, us forcing more traps and double teams in the playoffs would have resulted in, I don't know if we win that series against the Heat, because it's just a bad season and Jimmy was going crazy, but we definitely would not have looked that bad. I can tell you that. And
yeah, when you let someone who's been dropping 40 on you all series play single coverage.
Yeah, it's not going to work. And
it's not going to work, and it's fucking stupid is what it is.
Yeah, it's really dumb. And I want to highlight a couple, as we have been, role players. I think Jay Crowder looked really good.
Yes, Jay Crowder looked
really good. Like, he was guarding, he was switching, he was guarding whoever he needed to. He hit his open, he hit his only three, but he was open on his threes, on his attempts. I know I'm going to say he was 2 for 2 on 3, because he had one where his toe was on the line. So if he had his toe back, obviously it's not going to count the box score, but he hit his open shots. He was really aggressive on the boards, tipping it out to the guys and pushing the pace. And he just looks like the big veteran wing defender that the Bucks have needed.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to our guy, Marjan Beauchamp Stan podcast. We are so up right now after one game. My goodness. He was clamping Maxey up when he played. He was aggressive over screens. He was Marjan said that he'd been watching Mikal Bridges film in the offseason, and you can tell, in the first game.
That's a good player to watch for him.
He is just getting he's just getting his arms out and up, and he's making it hard to get around him, and he's altering shots, because if you go back when he's trailing you, he will block you. He's going to get the block because he's just so athletic. And then on offense, misses only 3, but running the break in transition and just being able to finish around the rim and being smart with his finishes was just awesome. And he was really aggressive on the boards. He only had 2 rebounds, but he was tipping the ball up and creating opportunities for Giannis and Brook to push the ball and grab the ball out of it, and Bobby as well. So it was just fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a couple of things I want to talk about the game. I want to talk about the offense. Obviously, I want to talk about Damian Lillard.
Can't blame me there.
Damn time.
Adrian Griffin did the right thing. He ran a fuckload of pick and roll and a fuckload of horn sets, which is great because I saw a stat and I believe Damian Lillard had a 127 offensive rating.
I'm gonna look it up.
And then he had like 189 offensive rating in the horn set. So,
damn.
Okay, so Dame PNR last night, all pick and rolls was 33 total possessions for an offensive rating of 129.2.
129.
And then about half of those sets, a little bit under half at 14, was 14 high like horn sets, which for those who don't know what a horn set is, it's a high pick and roll with two screeners. One guy usually pops and one guy usually rolls. The Bucks are running this with Giannis and Brook Lopez a lot of the time. So, the offensive rating for the horn sets was 185.7 offensive rating on running horns.
Which, if you don't know what offensive rating is, that's really freaking good. That's really, really good.
What was league average offensive rating last year?
Oh God, I have no idea.
111, isn't it? 116.
It's probably like 115 around there.
I just
by the way, the Timberwolves on Wednesday, when their starters were in the game, they had an offensive rating of 81.
Oh,
that's brutal.
So,
all right,
I think the Bucks though are just. I don't think people realize how dangerous this team can really get because Chris played 16 minutes.
Yeah, killed my parlay by the way.
I
did not think he was only gonna. Really quick gambling, and I bet him to get over 12 points because I thought he was going to – I knew he was on a minute restriction, but I was like, he's going to play like 20 to 25. Dude played like 15 minutes, didn't touch the ball like at all, and then just didn't play the second half. And I was like, all right, dude. I would have won $200 off of that bet, but it's fine. It was a free bet, so we're fine. No money lost, but – yeah, I mean,
Giannis didn't look great. Like I feel like the Bucks.
Yeah, this was a horrible Giannis game. Horrible.
Like I feel like the Bucks didn't even play good, and he's just like you have Damian Lillard. Like that fourth quarter was terrifying. I think it was like 8 possessions in a row where it was just Dame and Giannis taking turns, either getting a bucket or getting to the free throw line, and it was
I know
it's beautiful, but it's so scary.
You guys continue. I know our good friend Shad. He mapped it.
Yeah, I thought like Dame being on the Bucks completely changes their late game execution and offense, and like we knew that, right? We've known that since the minute the trade broke, was that it changes everything. But it took one game for us to see that play out, and my God, Dame time, it's here. First game of the season.
I got 2 free throw merchants on my team. Let's go.
2 free throw merchants.
Well, okay. I don't. Giannis is a free throw call. He's a call merchant. He's not a free throw merchant because that shit does not go in. That's why like people like get mad. And it's like, oh, Giannis got a foul. It's like if none of your players are in foul trouble, is fouling Giannis really a bad thing? No, it only becomes an issue if you get in foul trouble. That's it. That's literally it. But
or if it's game 6 of the NBA Finals.
So here are the scoring plays for the Bucks in the last 4 minutes and 40 seconds of game time. It was tied 102. This is from our good friend Shad, aka the drop step. But so the first score was a Giannis hook shot, Dame 3, Giannis assist, which was a kick out. Giannis hit a layup in transition. Dame got fouled on a 3. Dame had an and 1. Dame had that deep step back 3. And then Dame had 2 free throws to kind of ice the game.
Yeah,
they just spam pick and roll. They just spam pick and roll. They just spammed high pick and roll at the end of the game. They just ran it like 10 times in a row.
Yeah, even like, you could see even on the first play they just ran an early. They just ran an early drag with Giannis. Pick and roll.
Little slip screen.
Sixers just pressed Dame high off the pick and roll. Dame slipped it to Giannis. Giannis had a 4-on-3. He got a wide open right-handed layup. 30 seconds into the game. Like the game, the Bucks are just gonna. They did a lot of things right, and I honestly, watching that game, I feel like it was just more of missing shots. Like the process was really, really, really good. for like the whole Bucks team. But one thing I do want to talk about, it was a quote that I saw from Jay Williams this morning.
I saw that.
Yeah. He called the Celtics duo.
Yeah.
He called them redundant, and that's actually a word that I've used for the Celtics duo many, many times on this podcast, and I think it's very true. And what we saw in the Knicks Celtics game, and like we talk about in our worries with the 6-man rotation, all that comes from the fact that you have 6 versions of the same player on that Celtics team. Right? You know what I mean? Like Derek White is just like 6'1" Drew Holiday, and then Drew Holiday is just kind of like 6'4" Jaylen Brown, and then Jaylen Brown is just kind of like 6'5" Jason Tatum, and Jason Tatum's just 6'9" Kristaps. Like they don't cover a lot of the extra holes of the game, and I think you watching that Bucks game, it was just like, where do you attack them? Anywhere. Where do you attack them on the defense? Because you got Giannis switching on Embiid and forcing 3 stops.
My Giannis deep point take is about to. I swear to God, he will be top 3.
Yeah,
if he is actually allowed to guard the best play, there's a clip of Adrian Griffin. They go to the bench in a timeout. Adrian Griffin says, "Let Embiid shoot a couple threes, and if he starts hitting them, we'll switch." He hit a couple. They immediately take it in the next possession. They take Brook Lopez out. Giannis moves to small ball 5, which clutch time Giannis small ball 5 is.
I loved it. I loved that.
It's amazing. It won us a championship, and we just never ran it after that year. He immediately, there's a clip, he just rips up Embiid, takes it in transition, and he gets a layup. That was that first layup. And then he's just, you can't score on him. He's so strong. He's so long. You can't shoot over him. You're not going to just go through him. Like, it's just, it's awesome. But regardless, you can continue. I just wanted to say that really quick.
I mean, no, I agree. But the Bucks just, and I think it was really evident in that fourth quarter where they've just done a really good job at building that roster. And you brought it up with Marjon, you brought it up with Jay Crowder, and they have something that a lot of these, I don't want to call them new form super team, I guess like super team-ish with like the Suns, the Bucks, the Celtics. Like, who do the Suns or the Celtics have that fill those playmaking or those defensive holes? I mean, I shouldn't say defensive for the Celtics, but like playmaking holes. You don't. Well, the Bucks just got Damian fucking Lillard. You know what I mean?
And Giannis is playing backup point guard.
Yeah, and they have the second best player in the world. Like Damian Lillard's not even the best offensive player on their team, probably. Like dude, yeah, he is, but he's not. Like we're gonna see. Like they're gonna be 1A, 1B. Like I bet next game, like Giannis is gonna go off.
I don't know, dude.
I think it depends on the matchup too.
The next 2 games, Giannis is gonna have bad stuff these first 3.
That's true.
We play the Hawks.
Play Miami, right?
We play the Hawks, and then we play Miami, and Onyeka Okongwu just is like the greatest Giannis defender of all time. Yeah. And Bam is just Bam. So
yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised though. Giannis might want to get a skip back to the playoffs.
All right, so we've talked about some of the biggest games. We could talk about like there are more players that deserve love, but like Cade Cunningham or who like Shea or whoever. But I think we should get into the award predictions now.
One thing I want to say:
go
watch my solo video where I shouted out a bunch of role players and guys because a bunch of those guys all went off. So if you want to know a bunch of guys that you should be watching, go watch that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. What do you guys want to start with? I feel like let's get the easy one over with as Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I've got. Do you guys have top 3s written down or?
Yeah.
I did one and then a dark horse.
Okay.
Sorry, that's what I.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that too. So Rookie of the Year, I have Victor Wembanyama.
I do too.
Winning it. And probably, I think as a dark horse. I don't know how much of a dark horse it is because I bet Scoot is probably top 3.
He had a bad game, but
he had a bad game.
We're not going to talk about that game, and I'm glad we glossed over that.
We're gonna brush over that game. Should we? Okay. Should our dark horse just be like
My dark horse is
We can
Derek
just do
Lively.
top 2. We can just do top. Or if you
My
want to do
dark horse is Derek Lively.
We'll do dark horse. I like that too.
Okay.
Yeah. Dark horse rookie of the year.
I'm going Derek Lively. While you guys think about this, I'm going to say Derek Lively because
Jaime Jaquez. That's my pick.
he looked good too. Who's
yours?
yours?
Keontae George.
He looked good. He needs to start.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like THT, if THT's the only person in front of Keontae George, I have faith in him being a dark horse for sure.
And we all had Wemby as the
Yeah, he just looks insane. We've already talked about it. Go watch our video.
And obviously,
go watch our video titled "Victor Wembanyama is better than we thought."
Yeah, and then obviously you have the obvious with the rookie of the year race with Scoot, like you said, and Chet.
Yeah,
Chet.
I think Chet is also going to be a betting favorite this year with the extra year, but
yeah,
for sure.
All right, let's move on to coach of the year. Yeah,
Rick Carlisle.
I've got Joe Mazzulla.
You got Joe Mazzulla. I went. So coach of the year is so weird because they always just give it to the most winningest team. So it's like I think it's going to be like Mazzulla or like Adrian Griffin or something like that because they'll just give it to the top teams or Malone. But I think a dark horse is Mark. I don't know how to pronounce his name. OKC's coach Mark Daigneault.
Yes, I'm gonna. Yeah, I agree.
They can make a huge jump, and a lot of times, if a coach of the year doesn't get it as like a top 3 seed, it's because they jump from like a 10 seed to like a 5 seed, and OKC's in prime position to do that. And if none of the players get awards, I really think there's a chance the NBA will award they got to award the team now. So
my dark horse for coach of the year is Orlando's Jamal Mosley. I think there's a chance that the Magic are really good. I mean, we saw game 1, Franz Wagner was like doing some crazy shit. Cole Anthony was balling that game. I just like Orlando. I like that team. I think they could be pretty good if they make a big jump in wins, which I think is like a possibility. I think Coach Mosley could win that.
Yeah, I did Rick Carlisle just because I think that team is going to be. He is creating. I think he's one of the most underrated offensive minds. In fact, he's fabricating really good offense. Like he has a really good engine in Tyrese, but the surrounding pieces are good. But like he's getting a lot out of a lot of those guys, and it's just really good. For my dark horse, I'm also gonna go with Jamal Mosley. I think he's a really good coach.
Same, yeah.
And I think they look really, really good. So I think I like that pick.
Yeah. Do you guys have a clutch player of the year?
I forgot it. That was a new thing.
It's a new award. I've got mine written down.
Give me Dame.
Yeah, it's obvious.
I went Shea. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No. I'm just gonna give you 2 for this one. I don't really know how you can have a dark horse for this because it's just
you never really know.
I'm gonna give you 2 guys. My guy is gonna be Dame, just because that's my guy. And then on the other person, I'll probably say Luka because I think they're gonna be in a lot of close games, and he just hits every single game winner.
That's the key. It's like you got to find teams that are gonna have close games.
Yeah, for my dark horse, I put Darius Garland. I think Darius Garland is good.
Yeah.
I mean, just it's hard to predict, but like I think he'd win it. Yeah.
I'll go Donovan Mitchell. Same team, but Donovan Mitchell, notoriously big shot maker. I'll go Donovan Mitchell. Another one.
I like it.
I'll try to pick one from the West.
I also was thinking about Jamal Murray as someone.
I was also
win. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that could be a good one.
No, Jamal Murray's a good one for sure.
Do you guys want to do MIP or do you want to?
Yeah, no, let's do MIP.
All right, MIP. I'm gonna take. This is so hard for me. Also, I'm making a rule in my head. I don't care what betting I'd say or what the agenda is or who's gonna win it. I'm not picking a guy who's a top 3 pick who is supposed to be good. I'm not doing that. It's so stupid. It literally ruined that award.
Yeah, the job pick kind of ruined the award. Like you look at the betting favorites for this award, it's like Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Jabari Smith Jr. It's like these guys were top 3 picks. What are we doing?
Yeah,
it's slowly turned into who makes the star leap versus just like who just straight up improves from last year.
Yeah, I think Jordan Poole is probably my favorite.
I
don't know how much he would actually need to have improved to win this award, but in Washington, he's going to get a lot of touches, a lot of shots, and I think as kind of the main guy with more plays set up for him, I could just see his efficiency and scoring numbers go up. So for that reason, I think Poole is my pick, and then for dark horse, Obi Toppin.
That's a good one.
I like that.
I really like Obi Toppin in that Indiana system. Like what you were saying with Carlisle, I think Obi Toppin is a perfect fit for that system, and like way more than the Thibodeau slow it down kind of basketball.
Yeah.
So
for me, I'm going. I feel like this one's obvious. I'm going Anthony Simons.
That's been my like media pick, but I knew you were.
Yeah, like that's just like so obvious, and especially watching the preseason and this first game, in my opinion, Scoot's not NBA ready, and it's like there's a clear that Anthony Simons is the best player on the floor at all times, and I don't think there's just no one on the floor to take the ball out of his hands that's like good enough for the Blazers. So they're gonna force feed him. I think they're gonna force feed him even more than Jordan Poole, because at least they have like competent, like veteran guards, or even like Kuz. Kuz loves to shoot the ball. Like I think Kuz and those other veteran guards around Poole are gonna take away more than what Jeremy Grant, Ayton, and all these youth are gonna take away from Anthony.
I'm gonna
go for my. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I'm gonna go my regular guy. I'm gonna go along because I've been saying it. I'm just gonna say Anthony because that's what I've been saying. Yeah. What's your dark horse then, Matthias?
Oh, Devin Vassell. I don't know how much of a dark horse that really is.
I had him written down too.
Yeah. I think he's gonna.
He looks so good.
It's the who makes the star leap, and when you have Victor Wembanyama on your team, and he like at least in the preseason and these early games, it also looks like Vassell is clearly better than like Keldon Johnson and the other guards on the roster.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's going to be the right-hand man to Victor Wembanyama, and if he puts up some good stats, that's in reach.
I'm going to do a fun one. PJ Washington.
I like that one.
Looked really good. He was scoring the ball really well. He's a really underrated playmaker, and he's a really good defender, and he just got paid. So I think they're gonna. I think there's a good chance that there's gonna be some minutes opening up for him because I think they're gonna move towards some of those young guys more heavily pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also names like Jalen Johnson, dude.
Yeah. Also in my video.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson will be a good one as well.
We could do 6th man of the year now. I put Emmanuel Quickly.
Yep. I have IQ as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Give me a second to look.
Yeah.
I just think that with IQ, it's like he was the runner-up last year. I think he should have won it last year, personally. And I think the Knicks will be a similarly good team. Emmanuel Quickly's role won't change at all. A rough playoffs for sure, but I think he'll bounce back this year, and I think I've got him taking it home. And then a dark horse candidate, I got my guy Naz Reid. I don't know. I'm predicting a good season for him. If he can be the leading scorer off the bench for Minnesota and continue to be like a tough cover for opposing bigs, and the Wolves are a good team, I could see Naz Reid potentially being like a top 5, top 3 candidate for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. My main guy will probably be Emmanuel Quickly, or would probably be the main guy. I think it's really hard because I think the 6-man role is very weird right now.
Yeah, it's so hard to predict before the season starts.
Give me Malik Monk.
Okay,
he's gonna come off the bench.
I like it.
He's an electric scorer. He's fun, and that's usually what the 6-man of the year award is. It's just like who is the coolest guy that plays off the bench and has the best season. And then my dark horse, give me Cam Thomas, man.
I fuck with that.
Yeah,
Cam
Thomas, he's
he's going to get his shots up when he plays.
He is such a bucket. He's like the definitive bag talk NBA
player.
He ended the bag.
He might start though too many games this year, which is how bad
I don't think they're going to.
They're going to be. I don't know, dude.
We'll they have like no offense. They need like the offense is.
They need him on the floor.
Yeah, which I'm not saying. I just think there's some players that are just really good off the bench but could play more minutes. Like I think he could probably. I think if he continues to be good, and shows that he's not going to be a complete ball stopper, which he just needs to play. He needs to play to develop that skill. Okay, like that is the problem. He needs to play. I think there's a chance that they keep Dinwiddie and Ben Simmons as the starting backcourt as like the defensive playmaking type of backcourt. And then on top of that, we get and then off the bench, it's like Cam Thomas might play more than Dinwiddie halfway through the season, but Dinwiddie's going to start games.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, the title, but Cam Thomas needs to be having minutes, especially when you have Ben Simmons as the other guard tandem. You need to counterbalance the lack of scoring with the lack of playmaking. Like Cam Thomas is all scoring and Ben Simmons is all playmaking. So it's like I think that fits more than Dinwiddie's kind of like ability to do it all. I think he actually would fit better running a real bench unit. But it's only been one game. I didn't watch much of the Brooklyn game either, so I didn't get a good look at their rotations. So I'll hold off from judging too much.
That's also a good team. There's a good chance that team's going to sell some pieces off in the next coming months. And that rotation could change pretty fast.
Yeah.
What do we got?
My six man.
Oh, you got 6 man.
Yeah, for my 6 man, I'm going Derek White. And then dark horse, I'm going Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Jaden Ivey is just like. Hopefully he pops this year and stays on the bench.
I was thinking about it this year, and I feel like there aren't a lot of like young players with potential who have gone less talked about than Jaden Ivey. I think Detroit is just a not great situation for him, in my opinion, but I think he can be really good.
I agree. I don't want to say I think he could be solid. I don't know about really good, but
yeah,
I think throwing him into the bench right now is a little premature.
Yeah.
Depoy?
I've got Bam for Depoy. I just think this is the year where the media is finally like, okay, you probably should have won one by now, and we're going to give you the respect for what you did in the playoffs. And maybe other players have very flashy defensive seasons, but I think we just gotta let Bam have this one. So I've got Bam. For a dark horse, I don't know. I want to say like a Nick Claxton, but I just don't know if he's going to get the attention that he deserves for that. And I don't know if Brooklyn's going to win enough, even though their defense is going to be really good. I think like a Rudy Gobert could potentially kind of re-enter himself in those conversations this year after a down season. So I don't really have a clear dark horse for this one, but I'd say Bam is my pick.
Yeah, my pick, I said it was Giannis, but I'm gonna give another one just because I don't want to be too homerish. I'm probably gonna go Evan Mobley.
I like it.
He's gonna anchor another really good defense, and he is just going to get better. And I think the media loves Evan Mobley, and that's really what you need. For my dark horse, honestly, I think I'm doing it right off the bat. Give me Chet, rookie year.
Whoa.
Dark horse. I'm gonna. This is a dark horse. We're throwing it up.
If you're gonna do a rookie year Depoy, I think it's Vic, just because it's like
I just think that there's a better chance that OKC is a better statistically defensive team as a unit than I thought about that.
True.
Because
voters just it's top 10. If you're done with top 10 defense, you're going to win the award, which is stupid in this era.
Yeah, like Smart's year. If they wanted to give it to a guard that year that was like pretty much carrying a defense's point of attack defense, it should have went to Drew. But we were like the 14th ranked defense because Brooke was out like the whole year, so he didn't win.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For me,
I thought that would just be a fun
deep boy. Yeah, that's fair. I got Jaren going back to back.
Yeah, he's probably my number 2 or 3.
I think Steven Adams is gone. You have Marcus Smart coming back, and you got the lack of offense. They're gonna, like we talked about how bad their offense looked. If they want to be good, which I have faith in them being good, they're gonna have to be a top defensive team again. Yeah. And Jaren is the obvious backbone of that. And I actually think somehow this team could be better defensively this year because of the Marcus Smart addition. So I think he'll fit the thing where they'll finish like top 7 minimum, in the defensive rankings this year. And it's like, he'll fit all the things. In terms of dark horse, I was also thinking about doing the rookie deep boy with Vic, but I'll go. I guess I'll just go OG Anunoby. A little wing guard defender wouldn't be nice, or like a. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they've been given some love to guards and wings lately, like perimeter defenders. Maybe we see a wing defender get it.
Yeah, like a Jaden McDaniels too.
Yeah, I was about to say Jaden McDaniels.
That was
Caruso.
No, if the Bulls overachieve and it's because of their defense, that's not out of it, because Caruso
we didn't talk about it. We'll talk about it on a future episode because we don't have much time here. But
they're gonna get James Harden. The Bulls.
That would be disgusting. I would actually throw up.
I would laugh so fucking hard if that happens, and then I would
throw up from the basketball reason, but I would laugh at the Bulls because that'd be the most Bulls thing ever. Trading like Zach LaVine for
Harden. Let's do MVP. My MVP, I picked Giannis. I think this is the year where Giannis gets back to it. I thought about Jason Tatum, but because of the new additions on that Celtics team, I just don't know if Tatum will have the statistical season that he had last year. And if he didn't win it last year, I don't really know if he can win it again. Jokic is always a safe bet for MVP.
I'm telling everyone right now, they are not going to give it to him for at least another 2 years.
Yeah.
I do think though this is the 1 year because of all the star movement this offseason. Say this regular season goes by and the Nuggets are still clearly the best regular season team, even with Dame on the Bucks and this 6-man roster and the Suns, it's like it's a highway robbery if Jokic doesn't win that in that scenario. You know what I mean? And I think that's a narrative I could see getting ran with a lot, to be like, well, all these superstars got added, but Jokic still is dominating the league with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr.
I think it'll be easier.
They tried that agenda with Braun and it never worked. So
yeah, I just think it'll be easier than ever for Giannis to dominate with playing off of Dame's gravity. So I just put Giannis there again, and Adrian Griffin's going to play him more minutes, which means better counting stats. I think he'll have a better defensive season. That plays a big part of MVP. I've just got Giannis winning it. And then for a dark horse, I got Steph Curry.
Dark horse, Steph Curry.
Yeah, it sounds weird. It sounds
but no,
weird
it makes sense.
Little known player, Stephen Curry.
But it's just like he hasn't really been in the conversation for a while now. I'm not crazy high on the Warriors, but there's a chance that they pop and they finish as a top 4 seed. And if that happens, and for whatever reason there's not another clear-cut favorite, maybe the Nuggets just don't really care as much, and Giannis isn't the overwhelming favorite because of the Dame acquisition, and Embiid is doesn't have the wins, I think Steph Curry could be a guy that kind of emerges as the favorite and kind of return to MVP form, which would be his first one in 8 years. So could happen.
Yeah. I feel like for mine, I went Jokic, and I feel like all of us are either gonna have like Jokic or Giannis, or like that's just what it's been forever. They've been dominating. So I want to talk about a couple of dark horses. Dame. I want to start with Dame.
Yeah.
Number one, I think we're gonna see Dame with the easiest shots he's ever had in his life. And
if Dame averages 30 again, there's a good chance.
Well, the voters already tried to run the Giannis isn't a Batman, he doesn't deserve MVP before. So if Dame comes in and is the Batman and makes Giannis the Robin, which like offensively he will, but let's say I'm just saying in the whole team aspect, let's say theoretically just Dame has a better overall season than Giannis. The narrative behind that is going to be loaded, like just absolutely loaded. And I think that's a huge agenda that could be run with. Yeah. And then also Devin Booker and Shea I have as dark horses.
Yeah. I also thought about De'Aaron Fox as like a very dark horse player to potentially win it. I think the Kings are going to be very good again.
I apologize. Again, I'm going to apologize. I was definitely too low on the Kings.
Yeah.
Watching them play, I was like, this is
it's like
why did I think this was going to not work?
I just love that team. And like also again, because this year I don't think there is a clear-cut favorite. Like there has been in other years, or like I just don't think there is one. So I think the pool of players that could potentially win it, if like the narrative goes in the right way and their team wins and they shine in the biggest moments, I think there's a lot of players that can win it. And De'Aaron Fox, I could see him being in the conversations.
Yeah. My guy, I'm gonna go with Tatum. I think if they're really good, I think the media loves Boston, so there's a pretty good chance that he gets it. And also, if Luka's really, really carrying the Mavs and they're a top 3-4 seed, if the Mavs are probably a top 5 seed, I think it's Luka's award because
they suck.
Their
roster sucks. So if they don't suck, it'll only be because
like Jokic's MVP, where he was the 6th seed and the roster was horrible. That's what I'm talking. Like that is.
Yeah.
I just can't rock with the Luka MVP. I thought like his best chance was probably you guys know.
Yeah,
I thought his best chance was 2022 when Jokic had that like 6th seed MVP year, but
yeah, but he also had Jokic in that season had one of the greatest seasons, like of all time.
Yeah.
I just think that
I think the Mavs are gonna suck.
That's why my stipulation. But I said Tatum or Luka if he's a top 5 seed because the win difference isn't gonna be big enough.
He'll get the kind of stats. He'll get the
he's gonna average like 33, 8, and 8. And then my dark horse, I'm gonna go. Should I go with another fun one? Let's see. See if we should go with a fun one. I'm gonna go with another. I'm going with fun ones for the MVP. I don't care, because MVP everyone knows the favorites. I'm going Zion if he's healthy the whole season. If he plays that 65 games and they're a really good team like they were last year before he got hurt, because he's just gonna dominate on offense. So. Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps it up then. Any other awards? A teammate of the year? No, I'm just kidding. Give me Mike Conley. Anyways. Well, I think that wraps up the episode. We'll be back next week with another episode. Before you go, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, follow all their socials. Check out all the links in the description where you can find a bunch of fun stuff to do, talk basketball, read about basketball, and watch about basketball. So with that being said, have a good one and peace out.
Peace.